Hi, my name's Jeff Brown. Today I'm going to be talking about Hode, the higher order data editor, which you can find at that website. Let's start the app. Right now we're looking at an empty database. I'm going to load some data stored at that path. Alright, now we have some data in there. By the way, I'm running screen key, which means when I use a shortcut like Alt space, you can see it on the screen, at the bottom of the screen, or Control K. See that down there? Alright, so now I'm going to search for an expression. /F stands for find. You could also write find. And now we put in the expression we want to find. So this isn't really one expression, it's a pattern that matches a whole lot of expressions. It's going to match anything of the form blank wrote blank. This symbol /blank is called a wild card because it matches any kind of symbol. We could write something like Joe there, and then we're only going to find things of the form Joe wrote blank. There, we've got a bunch of papers. The first one, for instance, well, it's not just the paper, it's the relationship between the author and the paper. That is, it's a wrote relationship. So Willard G. Manning wrote health insurance and the demand for medical care, evidence from a randomized experiment. Joseph P. Newhouse wrote the same paper. In fact, there were 5 authors on that paper. And we've got a bunch of other papers in here too. So that's maybe the most common way that you'll search for expressions is just by using wildcards and ordinary terms. Once you've got some expressions up, you can then crawl around them. When I say crawl, I mean move from something to its neighbors. And there's 2 kinds of neighbors in Hode. There are hosts and there are members. So this relationship at 9, Willard Manning wrote paper with a long name, that is something that has members. So if I press Alt-M, you'll find a list of its members. The 2 normal members are Manning and the paper. And then there's one special member called the template for the relationship. So blank wrote blank is a relationship template. There's lots of wrote relationships and each of them uses the same template. Okay, so Alt-M shows you some members. Alt-C closes something if you don't want to look at it anymore. Well, but let's look at that again. Because Willard G. Manning is in a bunch of relationships. Well, okay, he's in 2 relationships in this data set. And they're both it wrote blank relationships. So Manning wrote that paper and Manning wrote that other paper. So that's the second way that you can find relationships, is by pressing Alt-H for hosts. Here, I'll close it again and press Alt-H again. There. So hosts and members are the 2 kinds of relationships. Now, it might be that you want to look at more than one thing at a time. Right here we've got a bunch of search results that matched the expression blank wrote blank. But we might also want to see the expression blank regards blank. So let's go to the buffer view. This is the buffer view. It lists all of our buffers. Right now we've only got one buffer open, the one showing the search results for blank wrote blank, but we can add another with Alt-T. The reason that's a T is because it stands for top. There's also a way, or there will be, there was and it broke, but there will be again a way to add child expressions. That is child buffers. But right now they're all top level. Okay, so let's go to that empty buffer and let's search for something. Let's find blank regards blank. Okay, so now we find a bunch of relationships between papers and their subjects. So, for instance, this first one, health insurance and the demand for medical care, blah, 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 that regards health insurance. It might also regard some other stuff, just like the wrote relationship. Well, okay, so here's an example. This paper down here regards Social Security and it also regards retirement. That is, a paper can be in multiple regards relationships. There's no real limits on what can be in what kind of relationship. so far. Maybe I'll introduce types later, but right now everything is untyped. Anything can be in any kind of relationship with anything else. Okay, so this is the search results view. If I switch back to the buffer view, now I see that my two buffers both have something worth looking at. Well, I mean, if it was really better data, it would be worth looking at. I've only got a tiny data set right now. So those are most of the ways probably that you'll be crawling around your data most of the time. But sometimes you'll want to do some advanced searching. And all of that hinges on the ability to substitute a sub-expression for a super expression. So let me show what I mean by that. Let's search for this expression. I've got a big white space there from there to there, but it doesn't matter. So I'm going to search for the expression blank regards taxes on blank. There's two papers about taxes here. We've got the effects of excise taxes and blah, blah, blah. That regards taxes on tobacco products. And then we've got another paper called A Tax on the Output of the Polluting Industry. This is really a good point. Is not a tax on pollution. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, that regards taxes on pollution. Now, suppose I didn't want to see that big, long expression. I just wanted to see pollution and tobacco products. Well, there's a way to do that. This expression, blank regards taxes on it. If we evaluate that, what'll happen is it'll find what it found in the previous example. But instead of returning each of those big expressions, it'll just return the thing that occupies the it position. So let's try that. If I evaluate eval blank regards taxes on it. If I do that, I get tobacco products and pollution. So that's a way we can find the thing that's being taxed in the subject of a paper rather than the whole big expression, this paper regards taxes on this kind of product. Now, suppose we wanted to find all the authors of papers about these two things. We can do that too. What we do is we use two eval it pairs. So the first one is going to be like the thing we just looked for, except rather than tell us what the paper was about, it's going to give us the title of the paper. Because it is in this position now, this parenthesized thing is going to give us a list of papers now. And this whole thing is going to give us the list of people who wrote those papers. So if we try that, we get all these authors. So once you can do that, you can find some interesting sets, and then you can apply set relationships to them. Namely and, or, and difference. And they all work the same. So here I'm looking at, well, okay, this parenthesized expression right here, this will give me everyone who wrote something about health insurance. And this one right here will give me everyone who wrote something about Social Security. So the pair of them joined with this and symbol is going to give me everyone who wrote about health insurance and wrote about Social Security. So if we search for that, we find John Gruber. But now suppose we substituted an or for an and. Now we get a whole bunch of people because there's many more people who've written about one or the other of those than who've written about both of those. The third operator, I mean, you can see where this is going. It's just the same as the first two. So if I evaluate that, what I'm going to get is everyone who wrote about health insurance and did not write about Social Security. And that's about all there is currently to navigating your data in Hode. You can crawl around using the keyboard, right? This kind of thing, and that kind of thing, and that kind of thing. And you can type in search expressions. So if you want to do it, the software is available there. My name's Jeff Brown. Thanks for watching.